In the world, electricity is one of the most astonishing inventions. It was first discovered in 1752 and is used commercially since the 1880s. Every day, the world evolves faster than you think, and the electricity has become an essential to our everyday lives. With the help of professional engineers, we are going to uncover the electricity's source, use, the problems encountered, and its solution. In the Philippines, electricity is used by everyone, mostly for their satisfaction and to do their tasks that require its consumption. It is also widely used in different fields such as entertainment, healthcare, engineering, transportation, and so much more. Not only it is being used for daily task consumption, but it is also present in our body for us to be able to perform our tasks.
It has become a very important part of our lives because as the world and technology is evolving, our consumption of electricity increase.
Since the electricity has been used commercially, the demand increased rapidly as it helps in our lives from a simple lighting in our household to supplying powerful computers that can do our task faster with less errors. But as our consumption of electricity increases, the production of electricity needs to increase to meet the high demand and the continuous growth of our population.
We have so much energy sources here in the Philippines that we can harvest from. The only problem is that most of our major sources are limited. It means that sometimes in the future, our main resources will become scarce.
There are different types of electricity generation in the Philippines. According to a record of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, our major source of electricity is coal, and it contributes about 50% of the generation. Others are gas, that contributes about 17%. Other fossils and other renewable at about 11% individually. Hydro at about 8%. Solar, wind, and bioenergy at about 1% individually.
Even though we have a seemingly large number of reserves, there will come a time that our non-renewable resources will become exhausted. So we must find a solution to this problem as soon as possible, not only considering the generation of electricity, but also our consumption as well.
The most common problem that the Filipinos are encountering is the frequent power outage in specific areas. This happens less in urban areas, but more in the rural areas. And almost everyone is affected by it and struggling, specifically those who need electricity in their work.
As our power consumption increases, our energy resources decrease, and it greatly impacts our production and consumption of power. That has led to an increase in the production of greenhouse gases. This also affects our Mother Earth that causes an irreversible state of catastrophe.
Power outage, also known as blackout or brownout, is a temporary loss of electricity which is caused by equipment failure or for maintenance purposes. It is very well known in the Philippines and almost everyone is affected by it. Blackout is a big challenge, mostly in summer season, because some equipment is overheating, and the people are struggling because of the heat. It also happens during the rainy season, because of the strong winds. Some electrical posts cannot handle the stress, and it collapses.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, most of the work that can be done using the internet has shifted to work from home. This includes offices, works, and education. Most of them rely on several devices to do their work.
There are ways we can do to solve this on our own while the distributor does their job. Is one, by limiting our load. What I mean is to turn off the unused appliances at home.
So, as a consumer, we can help in reducing power outages by turning off the unused lights during daytime, and also when using our air conditioner, we must keep the doors closed to any room that aren't being used. And if you suspect any of your appliances at home is causing the tripping of your breakers, we may consult the professionals. And lastly, is outside of our home. We must regularly trim our plants and trees to avoid interfering with power lines.
By limiting our usage at home, we will be able to save energy, which helps us reduce our production of electricity, which in turn helps the earth fill itself. And the other, because it gives more room for other people. In this way, our consumption of electricity will not exceed the capacity of the lines and the generators.
As time goes by, the alternative source of energy is now available in the market at low cost. One of which is using solar panels to harvest energy from the sun and using it to produce electricity. This is useful for those who only use basic appliances at home, such as lights, fan, and television.
There are readily available energies that we can harvest, and we can take advantage of it by creating devices that harness energy and converts it to electricity, like solar panels that we can harvest solar energy and use it to power our houses and our community.
There is also one alternative that we can set up at home, which is through wind energy, but solar panels are much more preferable and cheaper. When it comes to long-term maintenance, solar costs less because wind turbines need regular maintenance to perform efficiently and for longer lifetime.
In time, our limited resources will become exhausted, and our production of electricity will decrease drastically. This will greatly impact the economic stability and environmental state. The Philippines' major source of energy is coal, which has a very huge amount of reserve that is enough to last around more than 100 years. Coal is an abundant resource and inexpensive, but its environmental impact is irreversible. The decrease in our major resources will cause longer and much more frequent blackout, which is a great disadvantage to our economic productivity and livelihood. To prevent these occurrences, we address these problems by limiting our usage of electricity to reduce the high demand for production. And as an alternative power, using renewable resources such as solar and wind, we can sustain the shortage of electricity using readily available energy.